my child. I told you this day would come. You may not remember the moment I said it. You were tired then. You were in the middle of something heavy, and my voice came to you quietly, the way it usually does, and you filed it away with all the other things you hoped were true. But I said it. And I do not say things to fill silence. Today it arrives. Hear that word carefully. Arrives. Not maybe. Not one day. Not if you are good enough or strong enough or young enough. It arrives. It has already left my hand, and it is moving toward you while you sit there wondering whether I ever heard you at all. I heard you. I have heard every word of it. I know what these last months have felt like in your body. That tiredness that greets you before your feet touch the floor. The one that has settled so deep it feels like it belongs to your bones now. Like it moved in and changed the locks. You have gotten used to it. That is the part that grieves me most. You stopped fighting it and started calling it your life. I know about the mirror too. I know you have stood in front of it and not quite recognized the person looking back. I know you have caught yourself in a window somewhere and felt a sadness so sudden it took your breath. I know there are gatherings you have quietly stopped attending, not because you stopped loving people, but because you did not want them to see how much the years have taken. You have begun to hide, and you have told yourself you are simply resting. My beloved, I want you to understand something about that sadness. It was never a sign of weakness. It was a prayer. You did not know you were praying, but I did, and I answered it before you finished feeling it. You think your body is betraying the fire that still burns in your spirit. You feel a life inside you that is bigger than the frame carrying it. That gap between what you want to do and what your strength allows has become a daily grief, and the enemy has been sitting in that gap, whispering. Listen to what he has been telling you. Your best days are behind you. The decline is permanent. The promises about renewal were written for other people, younger people, people who did not spend themselves the way you spent yourself. He has been replaying every night you stayed awake praying instead of sleeping. Every time you chose someone else's need over your own rest. Every year you poured out and did not refill. And then he tells you the cruelest thing of all. He tells you that your body paid the price for your obedience, and now you have to live with it. That is a lie. I want to take it apart in front of you tonight, piece by piece, until nothing of it remains. Here is the truth he is desperate to keep from you. You did not wear yourself out. You emptied yourself out. Those are two entirely different things, and only one of them is a wound. The other is preparation. I have counted every step you have taken, even the ones you took when you felt completely lost. I have kept every tear. My word says it plainly. You have recorded my wanderings. You have put my tears into your bottle. That is not poetry. That is record-keeping. Every tear you cried in a room where no one else was watching was collected and kept and labeled with your name. Do you understand what that means? Not one of them was wasted. Not one of them fell to the ground and disappeared. They were gathered like something precious, and they have been sitting before me. And today I am answering all of them at once. Not one at a time, not slowly. All of them together in one movement. You have been asking me for a drop. I am bringing a river. This is what I want you to grasp before anything else I say tonight. What is arriving is not a reward for being strong. It is a response to being spent. You qualified for this by pouring out, not by holding together. The very thing you thought disqualified you is the thing that opened the door. Think back to a night in these last weeks when you were so drained you could barely form words. You whispered something toward heaven. It was not a beautiful prayer. It was barely a sentence. Something like, "Please, I just want to feel like myself again." You thought that was desperation. It was the trigger. That whisper set in motion the deepest work of restoration I have performed in your life. You did not age yourself out of your calling. You qualified yourself for renewal that natural law cannot explain and medicine cannot account for. And you did not stumble into this message by accident. Every distraction that fell away, every interruption that failed to interrupt, every quiet minute that opened up so my voice could reach you at this exact hour was arranged. This is not chance. This is an appointment, and both of us are keeping it. So stay with me. Stay all the way to the end of these words, because I am going to show you 3 things. I am going to show you why age is not the wall you have believed it to be. And I am going to show it to you from my own record, from lives I actually renewed when the world had already written them off. I am going to show you what has really been happening in your body during these hard months. And it is not what you think. And when you see it, you will grieve differently. And I am going to give you the words to break the one agreement that has been holding all of this back. Not your years, not your bloodline, not your past choices. Something much closer and much easier to break than you imagine. Do not turn away before that. Your own future is standing in the room with us, and it is depending on you to stay. Something is being poured out tonight. I want you to be holding the cup when it comes. If you believe I am speaking to you and not to someone else, say amen out loud where you are. Now let me deal with the wall. You have built a wall out of your years, and you have set it between yourself and everything you still hope for. You did not build it on purpose. The world handed you the bricks one at a time, and you stacked them without noticing. Too late, too tired, too far along. That season has closed. I want to walk you along my own record for a moment, because I keep a different account of what a life is for. Consider Sarah. She was 90 years old when I told her she would hold a son. 90. Her body had been finished with that hope for decades. She had grieved it, buried it, made peace with it, and built a whole life on the other side of it. When she heard the promise, she laughed, and it was not a joyful laugh. It was the laugh of a woman who had stopped expecting. I did not correct her laugh. I kept my word anyway. And when she held Isaac, she named him Laughter, because I had turned the sound of her disbelief into the sound of her joy. Understand what that account is doing there. It is not a curiosity. It is a boundary marker. It says that the closing of a natural window is not the closing of my hand. Consider Moses. At 40, he was strong, educated, sure of himself, and completely unusable. He tried to deliver my people with his own arm and buried a man in the sand for it. So he spent 40 years keeping someone else's sheep in a wilderness, and he assumed his life had already happened and gone wrong. I called him at 80. Not at 40 when he was mighty. At 80 when he stammered and argued and told me to send somebody else. The 40 years he thought he had wasted were the 40 years I used to make him someone I could speak through. And then look at how he finished. When he climbed his last mountain at 120, my record says his eye was not dim and his natural strength was not abated. That was not good fortune. That was maintenance. I kept the vessel in condition because the assignment was not finished, and I do not let a body fail while the work inside it is still running. Hear me. The body is sustained by the assignment. As long as I have something for you to carry, I will keep you able to carry it. Consider Caleb. He was 85 when the land was being divided. He could have asked for a quiet valley. He had earned a quiet valley. Instead, he stood in front of Joshua and said, "I am as strong today as I was the day Moses sent me out." And then he asked for the mountain, the hardest ground, the fortified towns, the giants everyone else avoided. "Give me this mountain," he said at 85. That is not stubbornness. That is a man who knew that strength is issued according to purpose, and who had not laid his purpose down. Consider Anna. She had been widowed for most of her life and had spent decades in my house, fasting and praying, and to every passing eye she was a fixture, an old woman in the corner nobody counted. But when a poor young couple carried an 8-day-old infant through those courts, she was the one who knew. Out of everyone in that city, she saw it. She had spent her whole long life sharpening her spirit, and it made her sight clearer than the sight of men half her age. Her greatest moment came at the very end, not in her strength, not in her prime, at the end, when the world had long stopped looking at her. This is my pattern. It is not the exception in my book. It is the rule. So when the enemy tells you that your years have disqualified you, understand that he is arguing against my own record, and he is losing. I said it myself through my prophet, and I want you to hear it as a personal word and not a general one. Even to your old age I am he, and even to gray hairs I will carry you. I have made, and I will bear. I will carry and will deliver. Look at that promise closely. I made you. So I know precisely how you are built and precisely what is worn. I have carried you this far. So there is no version of this where I set you down now, at the very point where you need me most. The one who made the thing is the one who knows how to restore it. Your years are not a debt against you. They are a deposit. Every season you walked with me taught you to tell the difference between what passes and what lasts. You learned that possessions thin out, that applause fades, that the things you chased when you were young could not hold your weight when the storms came. You learned who I am, not from a book, but from watching me keep my word to you over and over across decades. That is not decline. That is depth. And depth is the one thing that cannot be manufactured quickly, at any price, by anyone. There is wisdom with the aged, my word says, and understanding in length of days. That gray in your hair is not evidence of loss. It is a crown, and I set it there myself, and it is worn honorably by anyone found on the path of righteousness. The world looks at you and sees someone who used to be useful. I look at you and see a vessel finally deep enough to hold what I have been waiting to pour. You are not late. You have been ripening. And a thing that is ripe is not near its end. It is exactly at the moment it was made for. So let go of the wall. Take it down brick by brick if you must. But take it down, because everything I want to give you tonight is standing on the other side of it. And it has been standing there a long time. If you believe your best season is still in front of you, let me hear you say amen. Now I will tell you what has actually been happening in your body, because you have been reading it wrong. And the misreading has cost you more than the tiredness ever did. My word says that I satisfy your mouth with good things, so that your youth is renewed like the eagles. Sit with that comparison, because I chose it on purpose, and most people pass straight over it. The eagle does not simply grow old and fade. There comes a season when the eagle looks finished. Its feathers grow heavy and worn. Its beak becomes overgrown and dulled. Its talons lose their grip. It withdraws to a high place, away from the sky it was made for, and it goes through a stripping. The old feathers fall. The old beak is broken back. The old talons are shed. If you saw it in that season, you would say the bird was dying. It is not dying. It is being remade. And when it comes off that ledge, it flies with a strength it did not have before the stripping began. Now hear me carefully, because this is the thing I most want you to receive tonight. You have not been aging. You have been molting. Every sleepless night of praying for someone who never knew you were praying. Every time you gave when you had nothing left in reserve. Every ounce of yourself you handed over to a need that never said thank you. You have read all of it as damage, as wear, as the slow, unfair cost of having been faithful. It was a shedding. And a shedding always comes before a flight. The heaviness you are carrying is not the weight of defeat. It is the weight of preparation. Your body has been letting go of what it had to let go of, so that it could receive what I have been waiting to pour in. What looked like loss was the clearing of a space. Before I show you the rest of this, I want to ask something of you, and I want you to hear it as trust rather than as cost. My child, I am asking you to place a portion of what you have, something of real weight, upon the altar of this work, as gold laid on the scales of this calling. Let it be a seed sown into deep water, an offering set on stone, not held back in fear. This is proof that your trust rests in my hand to provide, and that your heart no longer clings to lack. What you release in faith does not leave your life. It moves ahead of you into the harvest I am preparing. Now let me show you why I asked. Because the asking and the renewal are the same lesson. There was a widow at Zarephath in a famine year. She had a handful of flour and a little oil, enough for one final meal for herself and the son she was raising alone. She had already decided they would eat it, and then lie down and die. That was the whole plan. My prophet came to her gate and asked her to make him a small cake first. First, before her own, before her last. Everything in her must have recoiled. But she poured out what she had, and the jar of flour did not run out, and the jug of oil did not fail through the whole length of that famine. She was not sustained by what she kept. She was sustained by what she released. There was Hannah, who wanted a child with a longing that had hollowed her out. She went into my house and prayed until her lips moved without sound, and the priest thought she was drunk because grief that deep does not look dignified. And then she did something extraordinary. She promised me the child before she had him. She poured out even the joy she was asking for. I gave her Samuel, and then I gave her more after him. There was a woman who broke a jar of costly perfume over my son's feet in a house full of people who called it waste. She poured out a year's wages in a single, unrepeatable moment. They scolded her for it. He defended her and said what she had done would be told wherever the good news was told, in every place, for all time. She is still being spoken of. The ones who criticized her are footnotes. Do you see the pattern? It never changes. It runs through my whole book like a river under a field. You pour out past the point that makes sense. You release what feels like your last. And then I pour in. And what I pour in is never a simple replacement of what left. It is always larger, always richer, always more than went out. This is why your emptiness does not alarm me the way it alarms you. You look at your fatigue and read it as evidence that you have gone too far and cannot come back. You look at the aching joints and the cloudy mornings and the shorter afternoons, and you file it all under proof that something in you is broken. I look at the same thing and I see a vessel that is finally clear. An empty cup is not a failed cup. It is a ready one. A field lying fallow is not a dead field. It is a field about to be sown. What you are calling the end of your usefulness, I am calling the starting line, and I have been waiting a long time for you to arrive at it. Those who wait upon me shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint. That promise has no age written on it anywhere. Go and look. There is no clause excluding you. There is no expiration on the page. The only condition in the whole sentence is waiting upon me. and you have been doing that faithfully for longer than most people have been alive. You have met the condition. Now receive the promise. Now we come to the part you did not expect, and I need you to receive it without flinching, because it is the hinge that everything else turns on. The thing that has been holding back your restoration is not your age. It is not what you inherited from the ones who came before you. It is not the wear of the work you did for so many years. It is not a choice you made 3 decades ago that you still turn over at night, because my grace covered that so completely that I no longer have any record of it to hold against you. The thing standing in the way is much closer than any of those. It lives in your own mouth. It is your agreement with limitation. Somewhere along the way you signed something, not on paper, in your spirit. You quietly agreed with a story about how the rest of your life goes, and once you agreed with it, you stopped contesting it, and a thing that goes uncontested becomes a settled matter. Listen to your own words for a moment. Listen to the sentences you say without even hearing yourself say them. This is just how it is now. At my age, you have to expect this. I am not what I was. That ship has sailed. I had my chance. Some things you just learn to live with. You believe those are observations. They are not. They are agreements. Every time you say one, you are signing your name again, and you are handing over ground that I bought back for you at a price I would not want to describe to you. You have been calling permanent what I call temporary. You have been treating as settled law what I call fully reversible. You have taken the way things generally go and set it above what I have actually declared, and then you have wondered why nothing shifts. Your agreement gives it authority over you. Your refusal takes that authority away. Let me show you a man who lived at the pool of Bethesda for 38 years. 38 years beside water that healed people, watching other people get in. My son came and stood over him and asked him a question that has confused readers ever since. Do you want to be made well? It sounds cruel until you understand it. It was not a cruel question. It was a precise one. Because look at how the man answered. He did not say yes. He said, I have no one to put me in, and while I am coming, someone else steps down before me. He answered with his limitation. He answered with the reasons. 38 years had taught him a story about himself, and when healing itself stood in front of him and asked a direct question, the story answered on his behalf. He was healed anyway that day, because mercy is not conditional on getting the answer right. But I want you to notice how close he came to explaining his way past his own deliverance. Do not do that tonight. When I ask you, answer yes. Not yes, but. Not yes if. Yes. There was a woman bent double for 18 years who could not lift her head to see the sky. 18 years of looking at the ground. My son saw her, called her over, and said, Woman, you are loosed. And when the religious men objected because it happened on the wrong day of the week, he answered them with a word I want you to hold on to. He said, Ought not this woman be loosed from this bond? Ought not. That is the language of something owed. Her freedom was not a favor being granted. It was a debt being paid. She had been bound long enough, and the length of the binding was itself the argument for ending it. Hear that. The length of your struggle is not evidence against your deliverance. In my courts, it is evidence for it. And there was Lazarus, 4 days in a tomb, past every hope and past every polite explanation. His own sister said the words out loud in front of everyone. Lord, by now there is an odor. She meant it kindly. She meant, it is too late. Do not embarrass yourself. He called him out anyway. But notice what happened next, because this is the part that speaks to you. Lazarus came out alive and still wrapped, bound hand and foot in the cloths they had buried him in. He was living entangled at the same time, and my son turned to the people standing there and said, "Loose him and let him go." That is where you are right now. Life has already come back into you. The word has already been spoken over you, but you are still walking around in the wrappings of a season that is over, and you have grown so used to them that you think they are your skin. They are not your skin. They are grave clothes, and they come off. So here is what I am asking of you, my beloved, and it is the only real work required of you tonight. Break the agreement. Stop saying the sentences. When one rises in your throat, stop it there. When someone speaks, decline over you casually, the way people do. Do not nod along to be polite. You do not have to argue with them out loud. But do not let your spirit sign anything, because this is exactly where faith and flesh meet, and it is more literal than you have allowed yourself to believe. When you stop agreeing with decline, when you stop accepting a small forecast for your remaining days, when you begin to expect your body to answer to my word rather than only to the general run of things, something shifts that no one can measure, and everyone will eventually see. It is not pretending. I am not asking you to lie to yourself about what hurts. I am asking you to stop giving what hurts the final word. There is a difference between saying my knee aches and saying I am done. The first is a fact, and I can work with a fact. The second is a verdict, and you are not the one authorized to pass it. Only I get to say when a life is finished, and I have not said it over you. Not remotely. I want to tell you why I am doing this, because the reason matters as much as the gift. You have assumed that if I renewed your strength, it would be an act of kindness, a comfort, something to make your remaining days a little easier to get through. And I am kind, and I do want your days to be gentler than they have been. But that is not why. Your body is not a shell you are dragging around while your real self waits somewhere else. It is not an obstacle between you and me. It is not an enemy to be fought and subdued. My word says it plainly. Do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have from me? You are not your own. You were bought with a price. A temple, not a ruin, not a rented room you are moving out of soon. And consider who lives in it. My spirit does not age. He does not tire. He does not wear thin or run low or lose his edge with the passing of years. He is the source of every kind of strength there is, and he has been dwelling inside the very frame you have been apologizing for. When you bring your body into agreement with the one living in it, things become possible that were not possible the day before. So that tiredness, those aches, that feeling that you are fighting your own flesh to get through a simple afternoon, that is not your new normal. That is the old pattern protesting a change that is already underway. It is the old wineskin straining against new wine. It is the shell cracking, which always looks like breaking to anyone who does not know what is inside. Do not mistake the resistance for the verdict. It is the sound of work being done. Now here is the part almost everyone misses. I am not restoring your strength so that you can rest more comfortably. I am restoring your strength because I am about to accelerate your purpose, and the purpose that is coming requires more of you than the one you have been living. Provision follows assignment. It always has. I do not hand out strength as a decoration. I issue it against work. There is something ahead of you that requires a stamina you do not currently possess. That is not a threat. That is the whole explanation. If you already had what the next season demands, I would not need to be doing this. and you would not have needed to be emptied first. There are conversations coming that will change the direction of a life, and you will be the one having them. There are rooms you will walk into where the atmosphere will change because you came in, and you will not fully understand why until afterward. There are prayers you are going to pray in the next few years that will be answered so quickly and so plainly that you will sit back in your chair, startled, and say my name out loud. There are people who have not met you yet, who will one day describe you as the reason they did not give up. All of that requires a vessel, and so I am attending to the vessel. This is why Moses climbed a mountain at 120 with clear eyes and unspent strength. Not because he had good fortune in his family line, because there was still an assignment, and I keep the instrument in tune as long as the music is still being played. The vessel is maintained to match the anointing being poured through it. That was true for him, and it is true for you. And now you know why the fight against your body has been so relentless. The enemy is not interested in your comfort. He never was. He came after your strength because he has an accurate sense of what your restored strength makes possible. And he wanted to have you sidelined before that season arrived. He could not touch your calling, so he went after the frame carrying it. He could not silence your spirit, so he tried to exhaust the body it speaks through. He was not attacking who you have been. He was attacking who you are about to be. Which tells you something. He would not spend that much effort on a life he considered finished. He knows what is coming. That is why he has worked so hard to convince you nothing is. So let me tell you what I am doing in you right now, while these words are still reaching you. I am moving through the places that have been sore for so long you stopped mentioning them. I am touching what medicine has managed but never mended. I am reaching into the tiredness that sleep has not been able to fix, because it was never really a sleep problem, and returning to you an energy that does not come from rest and cannot be explained by it. I am clearing the fog, that worry you carry about your memory, the words that go missing mid-sentence, the names that arrive an hour late. I am sharpening what is dulled. Your mind is going to be clear in a way that surprises the people around you and surprises you first. I am restoring your taste for living. Food will taste like food again. Music will find the place in you it used to find. A morning sky will stop you where you stand, the way it did when you were young enough to have time for it. This is not a small repair. This is a reconfiguration. I am not returning you to who you were at 30. I have something better in mind than that. I am building the version of you that could not have existed without every one of these years, carrying the strength of your youth and the depth you could only have earned by living. That person has never existed before, not in all of history. I'm about to introduce you to them. Now let me speak to the ache that has nothing to do with your body. Because there is a second weight you carry, and it is heavier than the tiredness, and you almost never say it out loud. There are people missing from your table. There are ones you love who drifted, and you are not entirely sure when it happened or which word did it. There are silences that have gone on so long that breaking them now feels impossible. There are things you would say if they came to the door, sentences you have rehearsed for years, and the knock does not come. And in the quiet hours you wonder whether you failed somewhere, and whether that failure is now permanent, because there is not enough time left to repair it. I have watched you carry that. I have heard the prayers you pray for those people, the ones with no words in them, the ones that are just a name said into the dark. My child, hear this clearly. Those prayers did not miss. Every one of them landed. Every one of them is on record. And I do not keep prayers in an archive. I keep them in a bottle, and a bottle is something you pour out. If you believe I have kept every prayer you ever prayed for the ones you love, say Amen with me now. I am going to soften what has hardened. I am going to arrange encounters that neither side could have arranged. I am going to loosen the grip of old offenses on their side and on yours, because forgiveness has to travel in both directions before a road reopens. Some of the reconciliation you are waiting for will happen faster than you dare hope. Some of it will come in pieces, a call, then a visit, then a longer visit, and you will not recognize it as an answer until you are already standing inside it. And some of the seed you planted will not bear fruit where you can see it. I will not pretend otherwise. Some of it will come up in a field you never walked through, in a life that starts after yours, in someone who carries your name without ever having met you. That is not failure. That is how inheritance works. Consider Naomi. She went out full and came back empty, and she said so bitterly to everyone who greeted her. "Do not call me pleasant," she said. "Call me bitter, because I went out full, and the Lord has brought me home again empty." She meant it. She was not being dramatic. She had buried a husband and both sons in a foreign country, and come home with nothing but a daughter-in-law who refused to leave her. And the women of that town later stood over her and said something I want you to hold. They said, "He shall be to you a restorer of life, and a nourisher of your old age." A nourisher of your old age. That is the title I wear. The child laid in Naomi's lap was not merely a comfort. He was the grandfather of David. The empty woman was carrying, without knowing it, the line that led to my son. She thought her story had ended in loss. She was standing in the middle of the most important chapter in it. You have made the same mistake she made. You have counted what left and called it the whole account. Consider Job. Everything went in a matter of days. His health, his household, his standing, his ease. And his friends explained to him at great length exactly what he must have done to deserve it, which is a particular kind of cruelty. My word says the latter end of Job was blessed more than his beginning. The latter end, not the middle, not the strong years. The end which everyone had already written off. I said through my prophet that I would restore the years that the locust has eaten. Look at that promise honestly, because it is stranger than it first sounds. Not the harvest, the years. I am able to reach back into time itself and give back what a devouring season took. No one else can make that offer. No one else has that jurisdiction. So I am restoring provision. The narrowness you have been living inside is going to widen. Things will come from directions you were not watching. What you have will stretch further than the arithmetic says it should, and you will notice one day that you stop doing the anxious calculation you used to do every month, and you will not be able to say exactly when you stopped. I am restoring joy, not cheerfulness, which is a performance and exhausting to maintain. Joy, the kind that sits underneath everything and holds when the day goes badly. You are going to laugh from somewhere deep, the way you did before, and the sound of it is going to surprise the room. I am restoring your place among your own people. That quiet grief of feeling like someone to be managed rather than consulted is going to lift. Your words are going to carry weight again. They will come to you for counsel, and they will not be doing it to be kind. They will be doing it because they need what only you have. Your house is going to become a place people come to when they are frightened. Not because you have answers for everything, but because there is a steadiness in you that they cannot find anywhere else. And steadiness is the rarest thing in the world right now. And the ones who come after you, including the ones you will never meet, will walk on ground you cleared. They will make good decisions and not know why they were able to. They will be spared things they never learned they were spared from. That is the inheritance you have been building on your knees for decades, and it does not stop when you do. The gray in your hair is a crown of glory. That is not a comfort I invented for you. That is what I called it long before you were born. We are near the end of this hour, and I want to leave you with two things. A word about where you actually are, and then something for you to do before you sleep. First, where you are. You have been living as though you are in the closing pages. You have been quietly winding things down, settling accounts, lowering your expectations by small degrees, so that no future disappointment can reach you. You would not put it that way, but that is what has been happening. You are not in the closing pages. You are at the summit. There is a difference between an ending and a culmination, and the world has taught you to confuse them. An ending is when a thing stops. A culmination is when everything a thing has been building toward finally arrives at once. Everything you have survived, everything you have learned, every prayer that shaped you while it was being prayed, every disappointment that taught you where not to place your weight. All of it has been converging, and it converges here. My word says, the righteous shall flourish like the palm tree, and shall grow like a cedar in Lebanon. Planted in the house of the Lord, they shall flourish in the courts of our God. And then it says the thing almost no one quotes. They shall still bring forth fruit in old age. They shall be full of sap and flourishing. Still, that word is doing enormous work. It is written for the exact season you are standing in, for the exact objection you have been raising. And it was written thousands of years before you were born by someone who already knew you would need it. The palm tree bears its heaviest fruit late. The cedar takes a lifetime to become worth anything. I did not choose those two trees casually. I chose the two that get better with time in a book full of things that fade. So no, you are not concluding. You are cresting. Now the second thing, what I want you to do. Tonight, before you lie down, I want you to place your hand over your heart, not as a gesture, as an act of authority because you have more of it than you have ever used. And then I want you to say these words out loud, in your own voice, in your own room, where no one else has to hear them. Say, I break every agreement I have made with decline. Say, I renounce the sentence that my best days are behind me. I did not receive that from God, and I return it to where it came from. Say, my body is a temple of the Holy Spirit, and the one who lives in it does not tire and does not age. Say, my youth is renewed like the eagles, because my Father said it, and he does not say things to fill silence. Say, I am not concluding, I am flourishing. I will still bring forth fruit in this season, and the fruit of it will be the heaviest I have ever carried. Say, the years the locust ate are being restored to me, and I receive them. Say it with your hand on your heart, and say it even if your voice shakes, because a shaking voice has never once weakened a true word. Then sleep. Actually sleep. Let me work while you rest, the way I have always preferred to work. And when you wake tomorrow, do not check yourself for evidence. Do not stand in front of the mirror looking for proof. That is the oldest trap there is, and it has stolen more breakthroughs than outright unbelief ever did. Live as though it is already settled, because it is. Make the plan you stopped making. Say yes to the invitation you were going to decline. Begin the thing you told yourself was too late to begin. Pick up the work you set down years ago, convinced that the window had closed. Reach for the one you have not spoken to. Do not wait for your strength to arrive before you move. Strength meets movement. It has never once shown up in advance to a person sitting still. Every account in my book of a body being restored involves someone doing a thing they were not yet able to do. The hand stretched out before it was healed. The steps taken before the legs were sound. The obedience came first, always, and the strength met it on the way. So move, and I will meet you moving. Think of the eagle once more on that high ledge at the end of the stripping. There is a moment when the new feathers are in, and the bird does not yet know it. Nothing tells it. There is no announcement. It simply has to step off the rock and trust that what has been rebuilt in the hidden season will hold it in the open air. That step is the whole of it. Everything before it was preparation. Everything after it is flight. You are standing at that edge tonight. The rebuilding is done or nearly done, and you cannot feel it yet because renewal is felt afterward and almost never during. So step. Not because you have proof, because I have told you what is under you. The air holds. It is always held. It was made to hold exactly the kind of weight you are carrying. And on the mornings when the old tiredness comes back, and it will come back for a while yet, do not panic and do not take it as a verdict. Recognize it for what it is. That is the last of the old feathers coming loose. It is not the return of the sentence. It is the end of it. Now hear my heart before I go quiet. I know that somewhere underneath everything else, there has been a question you were afraid to ask. You have wondered whether I still see you. Whether in a world so loud and so full, an old and tired soul in a quiet room still registers. Let me answer it directly. If you were the only one, I would have done all of it for you alone. The whole of it. The cross, the tomb, the mourning. For one. For you. You have never been one of many to me. There is no crowd here. There has only ever been you, and I have known your voice from the first time you used it. I have watched you keep faith in years, when keeping faith cost you something and no one noticed. I have watched you get up and serve on days when getting up was the entire miracle. I have watched you hold on to me when the reasons to let go were stacked high and reasonable. You have been faithful. I want you to hear me say it, because I do not think anyone has said it to you in a very long time. You have been faithful, and it was seen, and it is being answered. The miracle you have been waiting for is not a distant thing being considered somewhere. It is not being weighed. It was decided, and it was decided in your favor, and today it arrives. Do not spend one more night as a person waiting for permission. Walk into tomorrow like someone whose youth is being renewed, because it is. Speak like someone whose words carry weight in heaven, because they do. Pray like someone whose prayers are being answered faster than they can pray them, because from this hour they are. I am not finished with you. I was never going to be finished with you. If my voice has reached you tonight and you are choosing to rise tomorrow as someone renewed, let your amen be the last word you speak before you sleep.
We run on viewer support only. For exclusive member-only content, scan the QR or see the pinned comment. God bless you.